Hi everyone, it's Dee's from Turtle Dove. Hope you're all doing really well. Today I'm going to be painting some wooden flourishes. I have a collection of these that I bought from Craft some time ago. Every time I pop in there I pick up a couple because they're always on sale for $1. Now some of them are normally up to $6–7 each. So whenever I see them I go in there and collect some. So I've been wanting to paint these for quite some time. They can be quite time consuming depending on how detailed you want to make them. So stay tuned for the end of the video because I've done a few yesterday and they turned out really nice. So I thought I would just do a couple for this video. So I'm just showing you some of the ones that I've already got. Eventually they'll all be painted and I'll put them on a project share. So I have this beach spade and bucket with some sand, a pretty mirror, this beautiful fountain. So I'll probably do that in a stone type colour. I can't wait to do this fairy. Now these two are I think from Cheapest Chips or somewhere like that. That's a pretty fairy and she's already coloured white, but I want to give her wings some colour and a bit of bling. There's some leaves. Now these are back to the Craft. There's some Christmas bells, a rainbow and clouds, some shells, and these two are what I'm going to be working on today, the umbrella and the park bench. I've also picked these up from Craft some time ago. They're normally $6, down to $1. And these wooden flourish pack are called Gentlemen. Now I don't have a lot of sort of more male orientated embellishment, so I picked that one up and also picked some up for Happy Mail. So I thought that was really good. They've got little cars and moustaches, glasses, aeroplanes, top hats, all sorts in there. So that would be good for card making. Some gentlemen's cards. So anyway, let's get on with these two. The park bench and the beautiful umbrella. And I've already picked the paints out. And what I normally do, some of them are sort of stuck with some sticky at the back, and I use this just to hold and paint on, just so I don't get the paint all over my fingers. This one has come off, but I'll still use that as a base mat, so I don't get my good mat all dirty. I'll pop these aside because sometimes I keep those. Okay, so I think we'll start off with the umbrella, and I've chosen purple. So luckily for me I still have my folk art paints from years ago. I've got a whole box of these. Some of them were dry and others were fine. So I've picked amethyst, purple madder and violet iridescent, and I might put that on the top and I might not. But what I normally do when I paint something so flat like this and no dimension on it, to give it dimension you just add highlights and shading basically. So that's why I normally pick whatever the main colour is. I'll pick a lighter and darker shade. So you'll see what I mean, especially when I do the park bench. But the reason I want to do the umbrella first is because I want that to dry while I'm painting the park bench, so I can pop some of these embellishments on there. I haven't decided if I'm going to use the flowers, the rhinestones or the pearls. So I've just placed those aside ready. So let's start with the paints. Now I have this little palette here, which is actually for nail art, but I find it great for crafting as well. I'll just give the paint a little shake. I'll just pop these in the little sections there, the little pockets, I guess you could say. Popped a bit too much of that in there, I always do that. And the light, this one's getting low. Some of them are a little bit thicker than others, but I can always add a little bit of water to it. And I'm not sure about the iridescent, so I'll just leave that aside for now. Okay, so let's give this the base colour, which will be the lighter colour. So use my paintbrush. Some of these paintbrushes I've got are so old as well. Pop this aside. Pop that there. Okay, that's better. Just so you can see. Give the paint a bit of a mix. Do I need to add a bit of water to that? So with when I do this sort of stuff, I often have 3 or 4 on the go, so that because you know when you put 2 coats on things, you like to let that dry and then move on to the next one. That way you can get a few done at a time. Okay, so I've decided I'm going to do the handle and the little top button black, and the umbrella itself this beautiful amethyst colour, which is a lovely shade of pastel purple. So this one's nice, even though it's a pastel, it's dark. There's lots of the colour in there, the pigment, so the wood's not showing through just with the one coat. Okay, so while that's drying, I'll move on to the park bench. I should have bought 2 cups of water here for rinsing, but that's okay. So with the park bench, I have a whole lot of browns. I have burnt sienna, raw umber, yellow oxide and a skin tone base, which I may or may not use. We'll see how we go. And of course for the, I'd like to make the armrests and the legs and the top of the bench here in like a black iron type colour. Like a cast iron, I guess you could say. So we'll do, I think we'll do the darker first, which means I'll need the black. And I only need a little bit of the black, so I pop that right on the end here. It goes a long way. And a bit of the Nimbus Grey for highlighting. Again, oh, I haven't used this one for a while, and the whole awful lot of liquids come out of that. I better just shake this more. And I'll get a tissue and wipe that one away. There we go. As I said, some of these paints have just been sitting here for so long, not even opened, and I'm talking years. Okay, hopefully that's a bit better. Yep. So that's the Nimbus Grey. Pop that there, and now I'm going to hold it like that, and we'll start just with the black. Just carefully dabbing that away like that. Some of these are very, very fine. There we go. There's that one. And we'll do the top. Like that. And spin it around and do the other side. I'll do the top first on that one too. Now, depending on the design of the, you know, whatever it is you're painting, some of them can be quite tricky if you're not used to shading and highlighting. And but you do get used to it, and you can always look up pictures and get a better idea that way if you wanted to be fussy. There we go. Now I'm going to switch to a small brush just for the fine bits over here. Just clean that. Some of these brushes I've got are years old too. Always pays to look after your brushes well so that they last, which just means you've got to be fussy with cleaning them and how you clean them. I've got a very fine liner here, which I will use. This is very, very therapeutic too, and because we all have restrictions, depending on where we are over the globe, I think we've all got a lot more time on our hands to slow down and do this sort of stuff. I've always loved crafting, whatever it is. Okay, so that, I think, should do it. Just looking at the little bumps and things over here, you can see on a real park bench normally the iron will be on the side or at the back of the slats. So I'm going to make it so it looks like the iron is at the back, and then maybe once I've painted I can pop in some little screws or something myself. So this is the detail I'm talking about. You can either leave it pretty flat looking, or if you're fussy and you want a bit more, you can just add things. Okay, so we might start, put a second coat of that purple on. Just before it dries in the little palette. This one's not too bad at all. Like I said, the colour's quite pigmented and it's not showing a lot of the wood underneath, which is good. I could have probably gotten away with just putting the one coat on. So they're pretty thin and it will dry pretty quickly, as you can see. So sometimes it pays to be thin with your coats and just put more coats on, and that way the drying time is cut down quite a bit too. So there we go. Okay, so let's get on with the slats on the park bench. Now I'm going to start with, this will be the main colour of the slats, burnt sienna. Just give that a shake. So I'll start off with that. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? Do I have some double-sided tape? No, I can't get to it because the camera's there. Okay, I'm going to have to. Should have thought of that earlier. I'm going to have to leave it there and zoom in for you. And I'll start painting the slats. Start at the top. This paintbrush is annoying because it wants to split at the top, which makes it hard to control. Another thing you could use is, I have this huge sea sponge that I bought over 20 years ago in our last house. When we first moved in, I painted a sponged effect on a feature wall. And so I use this, I slowly cut away at it. And you could always sponge the paint on. Just cut a tiny piece off, but I find with pieces like this, that's okay if there's one colour, but with pieces like this, yeah, you don't have the control. So, I might have to change to a smaller brush, I think. Don't have the control here, I can see. That's what I'm going to do. see what I've got. I'll take a bit long. What's this one like? Let's see what this one's like. That's better. I'm just twirling to get rid of the, see the split again? The paintbrush wants to split. So just got to make sure it's loaded enough and moist enough not to do that, but without being too overloaded with paint. I do want to get my canvases that I bought out and do a couple of paintings, but I haven't done that for years, so I don't know what they'll turn out like. But oh look, I've already got some brown paint on the black iron. That's okay. I can go over that. Just twist that around. And I'm holding my breath. You know what would be good for this project is, because I do like detail, is those little magnifying glass clamps with the lighting. Stay there. Just use my nail to hold that bit there. So, you know, if you paint this and keep it fairly like blocked, as I would call it, just like this, with no shading or highlighting or anything like that, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. I just like to give it a bit more dimension myself, personally. Now this is a bit more, you can see the wood grain through it, which is probably good in this instance because it's wood, and each slat of wood can vary slightly, not all the same, so that's fine. I'm not going to be too fussed about that. I'm just going over it lightly. Okay, so this one can dry now, and we can go back to the umbrella. So this is what I mean by, you know, painting a few things at a time, and have a few things that are on the go. Okay, so that looks pretty well dry enough. Now, what brush am I going to use? I might do the black first. Better clean this one. I don't want to keep it in the water too long, because then the neck can rust a lot quicker than it normally would. Okay, let's get this small lining brush with that same black that I used for the park bench, and I'll pop in. I'll just get a bit closer for you. Pop in the top, the handle. just come all the way down the handle. This is nice, rich black. Believe it or not, there are different hues of black you can get too. Okay, so that's starting to look like something now. Okay, so let's put the darker purple shades on there. What am I going to use for that? I'm going to use this angled brush and wet that down. Just grab the tip and sort of work that into the brush. Now I'm going to just see what that's like. I'll wear it down a little bit more because I'll just want a bit of shading just along the edges. I don't know if you can see that. I'm just going to work my way all around. Getting a little bit dry. Just pick up a bit more over here. And some more of water. Okay, now basically I've just gone around the edges and now I'm going to take the dark colour with a bit of the light colour and mix that to make something in between the dark and the light, like that, just so that it's not too harsh. And I'm going to get my liner. Get another bit of a bigger liner, which, let's see, yeah, that one. Like that. Let's wet that down. And now I'm just going to give it a little bit of dimension. You have to work quick because the paints can dry really quickly. There we go. That looks a bit messy at the moment, but now, where is my stickle brush? Sort of like a blending, I use it as a blending brush. It's sort of like, where is one bigger one here? This is an angled stickle brush. So you just dab like that. And you can use it fairly dry, and it's good for shading. So maybe I'll use that. I have a tiny one and then this big one, and I don't really have a one in between. So I'm just using the point of the angle and mixing that in a bit to soften it up, softening the lines up to make it look shaded. You don't want to wet it too much because then you lose all your colour. Just taking some of that moisture off. Okay. Taking this medium rounded brush. using a bit of that dark colour just at the top. Trying to soften those lines more. I think that'll do. Sometimes you can overwork things. Okay, so there's the umbrella. The colours aren't coming out. It's not doing it justice. I'll let that dry and then I'll put some of this iridescent paint on there, I think. And I'll go back to the park bench and I'm going to use that burnt sienna again, some more in here, and just pop another coat of that on. Black's dry now, so I can hold that down with my finger. So this whole thing is a process. Like I said, it is very relaxing, de-stressing. You can listen to podcasts while you're crafting. As you can see, I'm not being so fussy with the second coat. Okay, so that's it for that colour. Now I'll go to the black cast iron legs and the armrests, and I'm going to use some of this Nimbus Grey, which is that one there, just for some highlighting. In fact, I think that's going to be a bit too light, so I'll make it slightly darker. I just dabbed the brush into the black. There's not much black there left, just to make it slightly darker. And just put some highlights. Around using my nail to hold it down. And I don't want to overdo it, like that. Should be enough, and while I'm at it, I'm going to pop some highlights on this handle. So just pop a bit of, oh, you can't see, sorry about that, getting ahead of myself. So I don't think the camera's going to pick those highlights up, but you can just see, and then I've popped some at the very tip. Okay, so that's that one, and you might be able to see the highlighting on this one a bit more. There we go, and a little bit on there. So now let's finish this wood off with some yellow oxide. So that'll be the more the highlight colour. And I've also got some raw umber, which is a bit darker than the burnt sienna. See them both? And I'll just pop a tiny bit of that in here, just for any shading. Just a little bit. That one's pretty thick. So now, let's start with the dark. I've only put the smallest amount in here. And I'm going to place some at the bottom of each slat. Which you probably won't be able to notice too much. Get some more water. And this is just going to give it more depth, more life to it. Make it look a little bit more realistic. And down the sides, it's a vertical slats. Now it doesn't look like much, but it does make a difference in the end to the overall picture. Then I'll put some in this corner, just make the corners look a little bit more dark. And then we can move on to the highlight. Now let me show you. You can just see it's a little bit darker there and at the bottom of all the slats. And now I'm going to concentrate on the light, which was the yellow oxide. This one here, and make it fairly watery. Now this is going to be a bit more tricky because I don't want to put too much on. Just bring that out a bit so you can see what I'm doing with the paints. Right, I'm going to concentrate on the top of the slats this time. Just taking the brush and taking that sort of a bit in the centre now of each slat too. I'm just, what I'm doing is slowly working my way up instead of just putting a whole lot in at once. Just doing it a bit at a time so you've got more control. So you don't just flood each plank of wood with too much of one colour. It's always easier to build up. But once you've put it all on there, it's a bit harder to fix. I mean, you can always fix anything, but now I might just, I think the bottom seat can have a bit more. There we go. I think that will do it. So I'll show you up close on that one. Okay, so that's finished. All I need to do on that one is use some of this Mod Podge. This is the high gloss, and when it's dry I'm going to put a coat on that on there, and with this one I'm just going to pop some I think I might pop some of these little flowers on there. So I'll do that real quick. This is a real chilled video. Could almost be an ASMR video. I always find it very relaxing to watch people craft. I mean, some people don't have the time to sit and watch for an hour or so, but other people like to see the process, so I always like to do both. Although I do like talking sometimes, and my videos can get quite long. So the good thing is you can always fast forward. Okay, so I'm just going to use this glue. Now normally I would wait till the next day or a couple of hours and before I use glue and stick any embellishments on, but just for the purpose of this video. See, normally what I would do is lacquer it first. And I've decided not to go with the iridescent because it can be overbearing in a way, so it'll take away from all the shading, I think. So I think just a light coat of that Mod Podge will be fine. When you put the final coat of the, like a clear lacquer or Mod Podge or whatever you're using, they really do bring everything out. There we go, there's my umbrella. So I'm going to go ahead and paint all my wooden flourishes, and I will show you everything in a project chair, but I just wanted to show you the ones that I did yesterday. So these are my keyholes and such. You can put on a box, like a gothic box even. So I've made it, I've just used the black underneath and then sponged on some antique gold, so they come out really nice, and they've been lacquered with Mod Podge on the top as well. I'll take that off of here. See, that's what they're like at the back. They're just very simple, and look what you can do with it. So you can see this is what I've worked on. This is my Christmas wreath, and I love that one. That one turned out really nice. See how I've used the dark green and then highlighted with the light, and then I've just popped some of these little diamantes around. And the bow is a cherry red with some gold highlighting. So that's that one. This one I did this morning. Little dressmakers, I don't know what you call them, stands. And then I'll show you the back so you can get an idea of what it's like before you paint and just what a difference it makes. Now see, that's what it's like. No life to it at all. And then once you've painted it, look at that. Isn't it beautiful? So I just did that in a peppermint green, and I painted a beautiful peach dress with some pearl trim, and this is supposed to be sort of a pearly belt. And this one, I painted the stand white, and I made the dress blue with some polka dots, and see the shading. And that's the back. So it does make a difference, and this one is just a beautiful pastel pink, and the wheels I've just made a darker pink at the base. So that's that one. And oh, this is one of my favourites, this little old-fashioned phone. Now look at the back on that one, see? So I used two different reds, just used the base of the colour with the darker red and then just built it up with the highlights. Then I used some of the dark black right at the end and some gold, And then the cord, they had fabric cords back then, did they? I think. I've seen some old phones like that. Just left that black. I was going to make that look all spirally and I thought I would just ruin it, so I thought that turned out really nice. And some Christmas baubles that I wanted to keep all in metallic colours. All the coppers, the antique golds, the yellow, white gold and the silver. And then I just finished those off with some little clear diamantes. And lastly, I did this a few days ago. Popped them in this little container, but I needed some more flower embellishments. They're all wooden, so I just used the orange and yellow, and then I finished it off with some diamond, what's it called, diamond dust, that diamond glass stuff. And I did the same with the purple, light purple and the dark purple with the diamond dust. Finished that off. It looks pretty. And then the plums. Put some little dots on the centre of that one. And this is beautiful smoky blue. I love those. Love that colour. And these ones here were the first ones that I did. I didn't think to blend a lot of colours in that, so that's just pretty simple. And then I put some of this flaky iridescent paper you use for nails. It's all broken up. Put that in the centre of that one with some of the diamond dust. And then here's some bunny rabbits, which will have to be for next Easter or during the year. Bunny rabbits are cute all through the year. But I've left them white, and then I just painted the edge pink and then finished it off with some diamond dust on the rabbit. So I thought that was cute as well. Got two of those paper clips. They are. So there we go. Aren't they cute? Trying to get the light so you can see the diamond dust, but it doesn't do it justice. Anyway, so I hope you enjoyed this video, just watching me paint away. Just a chilled video. And I will definitely be doing a project chair, and I want to show you once I've finished everything. I've also got this two postcards that I would like to paint and embellish. I don't really know what I'm going to do there. I might see what's on YouTube and see what other people have done just to get ideas. But anyway, so there you have it. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Take care, stay safe and keep well, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.